For real.
Still Butterhook, still Butterhook. The Boston Celtics, still Butterhook, still Butterhook. Oh, yeah. Still Butterhook, still Butterhook. The Boston Celtics, still Butterhook, still Butterhook. Banana 19.
Beat Rob, Jim, Pekka, J. King.
Still Butterhook, still Butterhook.
The Caesar on the court to get another ring.
Still Butterhook, still Butterhook.
Everybody in the chat now sing.
Still Butterhook, still Butterhook. Still Butterhook, still Butterhook. The Boston Celtics, still Butterhook, still Butterhook. Oh, yeah. Shut your ass up, man.
Daddy's always halfway there.
What's happening? Celtics-Raptors just finished up. We're coming to you live from the postgame. It's me, Jay King from The Athletic, with Brian Robb from MassLive.com. Celtics just beat the Raptors 111-101. It was not the normal look for the Celtics. They were down Al Horford. They were down Drew Holiday. They were down Luka Kornet. Kristaps Porzingis was a scratch just before tip-off, which has happened now twice. Feels like that's
How many
really
times this year
weird.
for the team, though? Like 5? Like happened to
Yeah,
Al
it
once?
feels like there might be some gamesmanship going on.
Yeah, I kind of appreciate it. When you have
Might be some gamesmanship going on.
when you
like-
know these guys are going to be resting back-to-backs, you don't want to give the team the extra edge.
That
And-
said, it's illegal. It's illegal. You're supposed to have the starting lineups in, I think it's half an hour before the game.
That sounds right, yeah.
So, yeah, little illegal. But Torrey Craig started, didn't really do much, missed all his threes, I believe. Got a leak out dunk, got a leak out, not leak out, transition layup. Otherwise, did nothing. Celtics just kind of were better than the Raptors, even without everybody. The first half to me was Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown. They were just very, very good. And then second half was a lot of Derek White, and Peyton Pritchard throughout was just fantastic.
Yeah, Tatum had 9 assists in the first half?
Yeah.
And
And
Finished
Jalen had
with-
4.
Jalen had 4. So again, those guys during this stretch in particular has been a lot of phenomenal, playmaking from those guys. It wasn't pretty for Tatum on that front in the second half. For some of it wasn't his fault. We'll get into that a little bit later. But yeah, Derek White's shot making, I think Pritchard's shot making, particularly at the end of that third quarter, to kind of just get them out of what had been a miserable offensive quarter there and just do enough. Like, this Raptors team is obviously not great, but they're respectable. They obviously kicked the crap out of this team.
They scrap.
They scrap.
They scrap.
The pressure was there.
Their guards and perimeter guys are physical. Scotty Barnes is big and athletic and feisty. For some reason, he loves playing Jason Tatum. He loves going at Jason Tatum. I thought one big play was at the end of the third quarter. Celtics get the ball with like 50 seconds left, maybe a little less than 50 seconds left, maybe 40 seconds left or so. And it's 2-for-1 opportunity, obviously. Peyton Pritchard has the ball, probes. It looks like he's going to get stoned and not get the 2-for-1. And then finally he catches Sam Hauser with perfect timing for a 3-ball to get the 2-for-1. With the extra opportunity after the Celtics force a turnover, Pritchard comes down in transition and hits a 3. So he hits a 3 with 1 second left in the quarter. Jason Tatum gets a tech with 1 second, which is a really bad technical foul. But they didn't make the free throw. And so Pritchard goes on a 6-0 run to end the third quarter, and it turns a 7-point game to a 13-point game. And in a game where the Celtics were shorthanded, in a game where they had some possessions that they probably wouldn't have if they were fully healthy, you could just tell, like, some of the time they didn't know how to play together. They didn't know how to play with no bigs. They played a lot of very small lineups. They had a number of possessions that were just kind of like ugly shoot, like end of the shot clock threes. But they still did enough. And when you have Jason Tatum, when you have Jaylen Brown, we'll talk about Jaylen Brown's injury. And then Derek White seemed to hit just like every single big shot. He had some blocks that were just incredible. I thought this was an all-around fantastic Derek White game. I can't hear you, B-Rob. You gotta plug in your microphone.
I got
bro.
muted. I muted myself. The Derek White blocks were insane. I mean, I think he looked like a center out there with the help of recovering on those.
Kind of was a center.
Right, he was. I mean, it's like when they go small ball, it's like Torrey Craig might have started at
Torrey-
center tonight.
Jason Tatum won the tip, by the way. That was wild.
but Derek White was certainly in the second half was the de facto center there. And yeah, this is again when you can talk about the shooting all you want with Derek White, but like his defensive activity, I think, has been just as has come back just as much during this stretch for him. And 2 huge blocks to go 3 steals, 6 of 11 from 3. And they needed, I mean, I guess the only bad thing to come out of a game like this for the Celtics beyond Jalen's injury is like Tatum had to play 40 minutes. Hauser had to play 40 minutes. White had to play 38 minutes because they did get that down into the those guys needed to make plays to get through this because half this team tonight was end of bench depth at this point. So, but White was up to the task. Pritchard, as you said, was crucial in that end of that third quarter. And this is just the games a dominant team wins. It wasn't pretty full for all of it, but they remained in control throughout. And they still won by 10 now. And I think I think all 6 wins in this winning streak has been by double digits. Is that right?
It's been a good stretch. It has been a very good stretch of just mature basketball. And it seems like almost all these games, they're controlling from start to finish. They get out to a pretty sizable lead. Sometimes the other team will come back a little bit, but the Celtics just stiff arm them, move back ahead, surge back ahead, make all the responses. They haven't needed any theatrics, any dramatics during this run. We talked about Derek White's game. I just thought so many of those sequences were just so phenomenal. Torrey Craig has an ugly turnover, dribbles it into traffic, and Raptors are going the other way. White makes an incredible hustle play, tips it from behind on RJ Barrett. It was actually more incredible than that because it wasn't like RJ had the ball in the hand closest to Derek White. Derek had to reach across RJ's body sort of to get it. It was a phenomenal tip from behind. And then later in the game, Grady Dick does a spin move to the cup, and then Derek White comes out of nowhere and blocks it, and then Pritchard goes the other way and kind of waits for the Raptors to clear out and just makes a beautiful layup after a patient jump stop, wait for guys to run by. There was another sequence where White, he was just unbelievable. He was unbelievable. The spin move he had in the lane where he just kind of broke off. I forget which Raptors defender it was, but it was just an incredible spin move that hit a little float right in front of the rim. Then another incredible block by White at the rim led to a Pritchard 3 in the corner. It was they capitalized on every single one. Every one was a big momentum shift, a big swing in the game. It felt like every defensive play by White just turned quickly into points at the other end, often by Peyton Pritchard. It was a weird game. We saw Baylor Shireman, J.D. Davison.
We got to spend a few minutes on J.D. Davison because we're not going to get another chance to do that this year, I feel like. Where are you on J.D. Davison?
Do enough to talk about a few minutes with J.D. Davison?
We have to, though, because it's that. Those were his first real minutes in an NBA game, rotation.
What are you going to talk about for 3 minutes about what J.D. Davison did?
Here's the pros for J.D. Davison. I think
he had a steal.
Part of 2 steals. He had a steal, and then I think he was a part of forcing another steal. Defensively, good. Got back what you want to see out of a guy who's undersized, who has his limitations there. Offensively, if J.D. Davison was not enamored, was a lot of dribbling. The Raptors were pressuring a lot in this game, bothering Tatum and other ball handlers at points. JD he didn't turn the ball over, I don't think, directly from that, but they were slow to get into offense there. So that wasn't able to burn guys off the dribble as much as you would hope against that kind of pressure.
And that's a tough thing to do, to come in as a point guard. You want to run the offense, but they're pressuring you so much that you kind of just need to go make a play, but you don't feel comfortable to go make a play because you're a two-way contract guy who never ever gets in the game. And so I understand like some of that stuff. Like when guys are pressuring you up that much, and the Raptors have a bunch of guys who pressure, who get up in you. That's just kind of what their perimeter guys do. Sometimes you just need to throw the play out the window and just go to the basket, make something happen. And maybe he didn't feel comfortable doing that. He did take a little floater, missed that. There was like one of the first plays he was in, starting to initiate the offense, just kind of picked up his dribble and waited for Jason Tatum to get open. And it worked out, but it was just kind of like, don't pick up your dribble, man. Like that could go very poorly if the guy doesn't get open. If like that's just kind of not an NBA play you see a lot from NBA point guards. So it wasn't the smoothest JD Davison stretch. I know he's had a great year in the G League so far, but it's tough when you don't know you're going to play. You probably know that you're not going to play, and then all of a sudden it's the second half, and you're like, get called into action because Jaylen Brown tweaks his leg twice. It looked like one leg and then the other, and all of a sudden you're pressed into action, and on a night you didn't expect to be. So
yeah, it wasn't like a nightmare or anything. It was just
it was fine. It was fine. It was just kind of like nothing.
Right. It was, he didn't. It was, but like you said, the balance for him in that of like, you don't want to do it all yourself when you're in that spot, versus like what his strengths you hope would be at the player, like so his speed, when facing that type of pressure. It was tough, but it wasn't just tough for him tonight against like the Raptors defense in the second half. It
was kind of sad that we didn't see a JD Davison alley-oop attempt, because he throws a great alley-oop. For all you can say about him, the man throws a great alley-oop. The man is ambitious with his alley-oop throwing, puts it on the money a lot of the time. Didn't get a chance to throw one tonight. Kind of sad. Probably because they just didn't have any centers. I guess Nemi was out there sometime, but there aren't a lot of guys you're going to just throw a lob to that were playing in the Celtics lineup tonight. Baylor Shireman, another guy you're probably not going to throw a lob to. Had one like early shot clock 3 attempt in transition on the right wing. Missed that. His numbers from deep have been very bad so far with the Celtics. I don't think that's something truly to worry about. He's always been a good shooter. But that said, if you are going to make an impact as a rookie, making shots is going to be part of the deal. And he hasn't done that yet. Point. Yeah. You just have to be a threat.
The floater, though. Hit that floater.
That floater was nice. I'll tell you what. He kind of did that in college. He had a little like in between game. He had a little floater game, like little fadeaways. People don't kind of didn't give him credit for that coming out of the draft, but as you watch the tape, there were a lot of buckets where he was separating with a little fadeaway in the paint. That one was kind of spicy. He had a little one leg like running backwards floater. Tough shot. And got it to go down. Otherwise, he was kind of like JD, very quiet night from him. But like with JD, a lot of the time in a game like that, you're playing with Jason Tatum, you're playing with Jaylen Brown. Your job is not to like go do stuff. Your job is to get the ball to the other guys, space the floor, take a shot if you're open. If you're not, just make the offense go. Make sure you don't make a fool of yourself defensively. Neither player did. And just try to compete. So wasn't really a bad night from either guy. It wasn't a great night either. Jordan Walsh had a great hustle play in the first half, but didn't play too much.
Just nice to see these guys, honestly, in a game that matters. Like, and I think we'll get a few more of those as the season goes on here, and particularly as we get to April. But it was fun to see him in a spot against the Raptors team that obviously isn't good, but has a bunch of hungry guys playing at least out there. And yeah, like no one, I don't know, like Tatum. They've asked Tatum to carry a lot of lineups this year, Jay, but him carrying the Queta, Craig, Shireman, JD Davidson lineup was tough offensively for a stretch there against Toronto's defense at the end of the third quarter. But
to be fair, he's doing against like Scotty Barnes in a G League team. Like
That's
it's
true.
not. It's not
true.
like
It's not
everyone's like
facing-
Tatum's playing with the main Celtics out there. It's like he's playing against the Toronto 905.
Right.
So it goes both ways.
It's true. It certainly wasn't the prettiest stuff. But again, once Pritchard, Hauser, and White got back into that game, the offense came back to life enough. We haven't talked about the Jalen stuff yet. Seems Joe said to reporters in Toronto that he took him out for those last 3 minutes because Jalen had tweaked it a couple times, the leg. He took himself out early in the third quarter and sat out the whole third, or the final 8 minutes of the third there. So I don't know. I guess you hope obviously it can't be anything too major. He looked pretty good for the first 8 minutes of that fourth quarter, but it does make you wonder. I wonder if we'll see him against the Pistons at the least on Wednesday night, if it's anything they're worried about here.
Yeah, it could be something where he sits against the Pistons. That said, they'll get Drew Holiday back. They'll get Al Horford back. They'll get probably Kristaps Porzingis back. So from the standpoint of like maintenance on a back-to-back, this was a good win too. Tatum never sits. So expect to probably see him again in Detroit, probably play big minutes again. But yeah, the Jalen thing looked like he tweaked it at the end of the second quarter or late in the second quarter. Gary Washburn was tweeting about it, how he was limping around, came back, played in the third, hurt it again, played, and then went out and played in the fourth. So I don't know if it's serious. Probably not serious if he came back twice with it, but it was something that obviously they felt like was impacting him enough to not let him finish the game. I do wonder if things had been a little closer. Maybe they put him back in there. I thought he had a great game for when he was out there, especially the first half. I thought he was phenomenal. He had one big boy offensive rebound, a drive from the left corner where Tatum fed him, and he just patiently got to the middle, kind of finished with a little like giant killer over the top. He had some great passes in transition. One where he got to the rim, turned around, and fed Nemi, I believe it was, for a dunk behind him. There was another one where he got it, I believe it was from Pritchard, and then dished it off to Craig on the left side. Another beautiful sequence. So I just thought it was a really good Jalen game. And, against Toronto, you're on the road. You've won 5 games in a row. Guys could kind of take the foot off the gas a little bit, but that was not the case at all tonight. I thought Jalen played really hard. I thought Tatum had some moments defensively that were just awesome. When he swallowed up Grady Dick, when he swallowed up Dick.
Cut that.
When he swallowed up Dick, that was great D. Whoa. But yeah, they were it was not a shoddy effort from the Celtics at all. They had moments where they didn't protect the rim great. I think part of that was probably the scouting report. They took away the 3. Grady Dick didn't really get free for anything. He's a very good 3-point shooter. Raptors had a ton of points in the paint, but part of that is like you're playing Jason Tatum and Torrey Craig as your 2 biggest guys. So some of that is to be expected. And also you're okay with 2s because you're going to get great looks at 3s, and offensively with that such a small group, you can kind of play the trade-off game to kind of decrease the volatility a little bit and let your talent win out. So I really thought it was a pretty mature game from the Celtics, start to finish. Not the smoothest game, partly because all the different lineups, but really, really a polished game. The Torrey Craig thing, I didn't think he played very well. He defensively, he wasn't really too big a factor. Offensively, his shots weren't going down.
He didn't
got
play the
some
fourth
open
quarter,
looks.
right? Did he play in the fourth quarter at all? I feel like.
Yeah,
I don't think
they
he did.
took him out of the starting lineup in the third quarter. He came in the second half for one stint. I forget exactly when it was. But I still liked what he allowed them to do, which is like on a night Drew Holiday was out. If you lose Kristaps Porzingis and have so few bigs, like you're not going to a small lineup because you don't have a small lineup to go to that can have shooters and spacers on the court everywhere. And Torrey Craig, he's not Sam Hauser. He's not like a movement shooter, but he's someone defenses have to respect. Defenses have to guard a little bit. And so the ability to put him out there and still have another wing just shows that how important he's going to be, I think, to the depth, especially when they're down bigs, especially when they're down Drew Holiday on the nights they're shorthanded throughout the rest of the regular season. Like it'll just be nice to have Torrey Craig around, someone that Joe feels comfortable playing, someone you can trust defensively, someone you can throw it the ball to in the corner or on the wing and feel like, there's a pretty good chance he's going to knock down the shot, and defenses feel that way too. So even though it was a bad game for him, I thought it was just like another. It showed why they signed him, because on nights like this when you're shorthanded, and maybe he'll have some games when they're not shorthanded, but especially when they're shorthanded, like it's just nice to have another trustworthy guy on the wing.
Yeah, it's another club in the bag, like to the angle, because he's a 6'7" guy, but he's also like he's got some bulk to him. Like he can rebound, and he defensively, like you said, he doesn't know probably the scheme as well now, but he eventually will get there with more reps and more time around the team. So yeah, I agree. It was nice to see them be able to go to that without having to over rely on Tatum at the 5, and now that Derek White is back in his true role as a small ball center for these last few weeks with the rim protection, that was big too. But it was for a night where like the Raptors, they don't like the only big they were playing in this game was Orlando Robinson. So it makes sense where they audibled before that. Once Pirtle was out, it was like, okay, just rest all the bigs tonight because we don't need them in this game. Like we're probably better off going small and saving the wear and tear in those guys versus for Wednesday night against a real Pistons team that has legitimate bigs that is probably going to need everyone's attention in the front court as opposed to this Toronto team.
Yeah, and that should be. I mean, it should be a fun second night of a back-to-back. Pistons have been playing great basketball. Cade Cunningham has been just on another level lately, taking a leap. Like I'm sure everyone in Detroit wanted him to. Tonight was sort of the full Nemi experience, I would say.
It's a good way to put it.
The full Nemi experience for sure. Yeah, the first half where he fouled like a million times had sort of what I call the Mikey Moore, which is where you come in and play like 6 minutes and foul 3 times, and then you have to sit down. Although Mikey Moore, they didn't always sit him down. Sometimes they just leave him in there with 3, and he'd pick up 4, pick up 5, whatever. So Nemi had that. He had a free throw that he didn't defensive rebound. That was pretty bad. He had another rebound defensively where he just kind of got beat to it, even though he was sort of right there. And then he has some nice plays. Joe Mazzulla calls a timeout with 2.1 seconds left on the shot clock in the fourth quarter. They run a lob for Nemi, and Derek White throws it up to him. He converts it. Peyton Pritchard, like a couple big offensive rebounds for Nemi. There was one they were down. I think the Celtics were up 8 in the fourth quarter, and Pritchard missed a 3 from the left corner. And like you're up 8, you miss a 3. Raptors come back. Who knows? They cut it to 6. They cut it to 5. Instead, Nemi works on the glass. I think he picked up a foul on the play and kept possession with the Celtics. So he had another play where they fed him down low. He hit the bottom of the rim with a layup attempt, but got it back and finished a little hook shot. So it really was the full Nemi experience on display. The good, the bad, the production. He had some great plays at the rim, and it's like just kind of throw your hands up at the end of the day, and it's a Nemi roller coaster sometimes.
You'll take it from the 4th-string center. You'll certainly take this. But it is the true. I did love though the ATO with the 3 minutes left in the game.
That was a great play.
It was a great play, and the Raptors clearly weren't ready for it. Or him just being in the game, sneaking him in at that point. Obviously, they pulled Jalen at that point of the game, but yeah, he held up well at least in those last 3 minutes defensively. I felt like, and not that the game. I mean, they were still up by 9, so it wasn't like a true crunch time situation there, but that's great. That's the fact they can. Again, it's not going to be perfect, but if you can get 20 points, 20 minutes out of them, 10 points, rebounds, a couple bad fouls, and hopefully a bunch of offensive rebounds, they'll take that to the bank as much as they can in the last 2 months of the year here, because the rest nights are not going to stop at this point for Al and KP anytime soon, or even Luke, to be honest. Like, I imagine all those guys are going to be, they're going to find their spots to make sure those guys get the nights off and are fully
Does
healthy.
Luke need rest?
Yes, he does.
He plays like 20 minutes a game.
He gets 20 minutes a game. He
gets rest for 28 minutes every game.
I don't. He gets hurt once every 2 months in warmups, Jay. I don't want to overexert.
Rest him during warmups.
Okay,
just don't let him go to the layup line.
Maybe that's the answer. Then maybe you got to tell him to tone down the tomahawk.
Limit his layup line reps.
Right. But yeah, rest everyone. Anyone over 28, give him extra rest.
Today did not bode well for Xavier Tillman's chances of earning playing time the rest of the way. You're missing 3 bigs, and instead of going to Tillman at all, and it's against a bad Raptors team, it's not like you're playing cream of the crop out here, and they're trying to really cobble together great chances to win. And instead, you go start Torrey Craig, start super small. You play just one big Nemi. You played J.D. Davison. You play Baylor Shireman. You play Jordan Walsh. You play every single person but Xavier Tillman. So
the knee can't be right? Like, that's not that.
Yeah, I think he's probably hurting more than they're letting on. And he played like he was hurting even before he started missing games. I would guess physically he's not right. I would guess also that based on what's happened, especially his offense so far this season, they want to find other ways to win. And, you're not going to go to Tatum at center all the time, but I wouldn't be surprised if Joe was like, you know what, let's give this a chance. Let's see what happens. This is a good opportunity to try that. It sort of felt like the Orlando game last year when the Celtics were shorthanded in the front court, and they were just like, let's start Lamar Stevens at center. Let's just throw him out there and see what happens. Instead of doing the conventional thing, you go small, you see what it looks like. And obviously that never materialized into anything substantial. Lamar Stevens is gone by the trade deadline, but
he played well in those Cavs game, whatever that was, with Orlando, whatever that game was.
But you get a look at it, you see what it looks like, just in case you might need something like that later on, because you want to, or because you're down a couple guys, foul trouble, whatever. Weird stuff pops up in the playoffs sometimes where you just got to find a different way to win. And so I felt like part of it was Joe just searching for different ways to win, giving guys lower on the depth chart a chance. But also I think like Tillman's just so far out of the rotation right now, so far out of the plans, that even on a night when they were missing 3 centers, he couldn't get out there. Yeah.
I mean, again, that's why I thought they honestly might considered like opening up his roster spot if he just can, if he's hurt or whatever, like back at the trade deadline. Obviously that didn't happen. So there's certainly faith enough that he'll be healthy enough to give them something in a bind, but he's down the line at that point. It's too bad, given, the few bright spots he had last year. But I mean, going back to wrap up here, like going back to the small ball lineup stuff, is that something you want to see more of, just to get those reps in the next couple months? Obviously, we know the double bigs have been tremendous. The single big has been hit or miss, but we know what that is at this point, obviously. Do you want to see them get this in a random game here or there in these next 2 months? with Tatum at the 5.
I wouldn't hate it. Try it with Drew Holiday out there. See what happens instead of Torrey Craig. See what happens.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think that's going to be something they go to a lot. I don't think it's going to be something they use in like a best case scenario at all in the playoffs. But you can never have enough identities in the playoffs, and I think oftentimes teams that can play different ways, teams that can go big, go small, go with shooting, go with physicality, just kind of toggle through different ways to play, are often the teams that win. And I feel like obviously the Celtics have that already, but they haven't. And part of the reason why they haven't gone small and don't go small is because they don't need to. They go big and they still have shooting. They still have skill. They still have floor spacers everywhere. It's like, why would you go small with Torrey Craig when you could just put Kristaps Porzingis, who's 7'3" and more talented at everything than Torrey Craig, and will also protect the rim and will also kill switches.
Well, let's throw Torrey Craig out of here. Let's talk like Sam Hauser, Pritchard, Drew, Jalen, Tatum.
But still, it's like,
I mean, I agree.
You throw Al Horford out there, you throw Kristaps Porzingis out there. You don't sacrifice too much in terms of ball handling, in terms of shooting, in terms of all that stuff. I guess you do in ball handling, but like you can still have a lot of skill out there while just being ginormous. So I don't think it's something that they should use too often, but it was a good opportunity tonight to try it, give it a look. I didn't think it was great all the time. I thought their offense looked pretty good, though, especially at the starts of quarters when they were playing like really small. And there were some clunky moments, but I felt like most of those were with like the weirder lineups they threw out there when guys didn't really know what was going on.
Yeah, like once Jalen got hurt in the third quarter there, then the Lambs kind of went to hell for a stretch there.
Yeah.
Most of the starters came back.
I was shocked when I saw J.D. Davison walk over that scorer's table. Wasn't ready for that one, but it happened, and it was another good Celtics win. They've racked up 6 in a row now, 10 of their last 11. So they're back. The flip is switched. They're rolling right now. They're locked in. They're playing detailed basketball. They're playing consistent basketball. They've done it at home. They've done it on the road. They've done it against good teams. They've done it against bad teams. Another test tomorrow against Detroit. We'll be here after that.
7 in a row for Detroit.
7 in a row.
7 in a row.
Two big winning streaks up against each other. One of them will not survive, B-Rob.
I'm going to be checking on Suichi all night long. He's going to be hyped up for a Pistons Celtics affair.
Is he a Pistons fan? Did he grow up a Pistons fan?
Yeah, he grew up a Pistons, yeah.
That's kind of
Big
tough.
Pistons guy. Right.
Because he was born, obviously, after the Bad Boys years. I guess he had the 2004 title. How old was he for that? Like
he was probably
like 5, 6?
5 years old, yeah. Yeah, that was probably it. So he hasn't had much.
He's basically gotten like Darko Milicic and who else?
Ben Gordon, Charlie Villanueva.
Oh, man. Been some tough
Andre
years
Drummond. It's been rough.
I'm sure he's not a fan anymore.
Yeah.
our jobs, you can't really stay fans, which is fortunate and unfortunate. But yeah, they've had some bleak years at Pistons. Not a bleak year this year. They're rolling. Cade Cunningham, like I said before, just kind of ascending as a star in this league. Someone who just has full control of his team right now. Really plays at his own pace. A big guard. Not many teams have a lot of defenders to throw at a guy like that, but the Celtics obviously do. I think it'll be a good challenge for him. I want to see, hopefully Jalen can play because he kind of has beef with Isaiah Stewart. Remember the throat slash gesture? Isaiah Stewart and Kristaps Porzingis went at it a little bit. They had tempers heated. I think Isaiah Stewart kind of goes at it with everybody, the way that he plays, the intensity that he has, the physicality that he has, sort of borders on reckless sometimes. So should be a good one. Kind of a random. I never would have circled this game at the beginning of the season and thought You know what? That one's gonna be a good one. That one's gonna be a fun one. The Celtics Pistons in at the end of February. But here we are, and I'm pumped for it. I'm excited for it. We'll be here afterward, as we are every Monday through Friday. Just want to announce, I don't know if we've announced this on the podcast already. I don't think we have. We're pretty sure we're going to not have the normal Friday podcast and hold off on that one until after the Cavaliers game so we can have a post-game show for the Celtics-Cavaliers game. Obviously, that's a big one, and we want to have that game covered for you guys. So we'll do post-game tomorrow, and then when you wake up Friday morning, you won't have a podcast in your inbox. It'll come the following day. I think that's better for everybody. I guess before we go, there's one more thing I want to talk about. What the fuck was Eric Pincis thinking? Pincis? Did you see? He wrote a list of the worst contracts in 2 years from now in the NBA. Jason Tatum was number 2.
No.
What?
What?
What on earth? What on
He's usually
earth?
good of that sort of stuff. That's a
Jason
stunner.
Tatum is number. Is he gonna suffer a catastrophic injury in the next couple weeks?
I gotta look at this up right now. That is on Bleacher Report.
So he has Joel Embiid's number 1, and
Yeah.
Joel Embiid
A fair.
hasn't played at all this year. Jason Tatum has been first team All NBA 3 straight years. He's been one of the most durable guys in the NBA. He just won a goddamn championship. And
Did he mean
that's gonna
best
be-
contracts in the NBA?
No, worst value contracts 2 years from now, and it was Jason Tatum number 2, Jaylen Brown I think was number 6. It's like
Oh, number 4 for Jaylen Brown.
number 4.
I'm looking at it right now. Holy crap!
What? Like, what? The guy was just Finals MVP. How bad could his contract be?
How is Paul George not number 2 on this list? Paul George is number 8.
It was baffling. I see a lot of shit online that is wrong and stupid. This one, Jason Tatum at 2, Jaylen Brown at 4, is crazy, especially Tatum at 2.
That's another level of disrespect. I hope Joe gets a hold of this and puts it in front of Tatum for whenever he needs to.
What? Like,
Get a rise
in
up.
what world are you like? Let me forecast 2 years from now. Jason Tatum will be 28 in his literal prime, making as much as all the top guys do, and that's going to be the worst contract. Like, what's DeMontis
Jeez.
Sabonis going to be making 2 years from now?
It's
What's he going to be making 2 years from now? What the fuck?
this is one of the most baffling things I've seen.
Do you have it pulled
online this
up?
year. Yeah, I have it pulled up here. I have the full.
Could you read it?
Yeah, you want
Just the full capsule, because I want to give the
caption.
full context to
Yes.
people for why he chose Jason Tatum at number 2.
So Jason Tatum will be making $58 million in 2 years from now. Will be 28, as you said. Like Jaylen Brown, Tatum has been well compensated for his starting role. He's younger than Brown and was respected enough for his play this season to be selected as a starter for the All-Star game. Wow, nice. Tatum, yeah, he's been one of the 3 best players in the NBA this year. Let's keep going. Tatum's contract is so massive that he has to be nearly at the top of the list. The salary the Celtics will pay Tatum is significantly higher than just about anyone else in the NBA. Can Tatum conceivably live up to it, especially if the league's new rules in mind? I would say yes, Jay. What do you think?
He just won a fucking championship. He just led the Celtics in points, rebounds, and assists. He's leading them again in points, rebounds, assists, and I believe steals now. Like, what the fuck? In what world would you ever look at Jason Tatum and be like, that's the second worst contract in the league?
And there's one more pot. Like, this is a pretty bad shot from Pincus to end this. He's a talented player and one of the league's top young stars, but that contract may not look great as veterans like Drew Holiday and Al Horford age out and the team needs to restock for future runs.
You know what?
Or that's the perfect guy you want to build around.
You know what would be nice when those guys age out? Having Jason Tatum there, because
28.
we just watched him play against the Raptors with the G League guys. He was, I think, plus 20 in the first half, plus 18 in the first half. That's kind of what he does. He was plus 20 for the game, played 40 minutes, 19 points, 11 assists, 6 rebounds, and that was like not even one of his best games. It was baffling. I just don't know how you can look at what Jason Tatum has done at Jason Tatum's age, at Jason Tatum's durability, at his sheer consistency, at what he's done in big moments throughout his career. He's always been a playoff riser from the time he was a rookie playing against LeBron James in the Eastern Conference Finals. He's won year after year after year with all sorts of different teams. They haven't always had the best rosters with Jason Tatum, and they've always won with him. They've had some very good rosters, obviously, but he's been a huge, huge part of that. He's the second worst. There isn't a second worst contract you can find than Jason Tatum. What? Who's a good contract if Jason Tatum's not a good contract?
Like, who would you feel better giving a supermax to in this league outside of like Jokic, SGA? I think Tatum's probably next on that list for me. Of like,
I would have probably said Wembanyama until he
Wembanyama. Yeah, now you got the blood. Yeah, like obviously right.
Blood clot thing.
But beyond those guys, like who, like the best bet for the contract's crazy big. Okay.
So what?
he's certainly, you don't want to have two of them on your roster. I get it. It's like hard, but like you're not going to turn it down. It's literally 29 other teams would love to have Jason Tatum on the team for $58 million in 2 years. That's wow.
Absolutely.
Wow, Jake. Great find. What a disgrace of a list.
I'm glad I remembered to bring that up because that was stunning. And I don't usually like to take shots at other media guys, and I'm not taking a shot at him. He does really good work on a lot of stuff. I respect him.
Stunned
but this take was just wild. Like, this is just something I very much disagree with. Could not disagree with more. Second worst contract. You can't find another worst contract in the league. You can't. And Jason Tatum.
You can find 100 worst contracts.
26 years old with 3 first-team All-NBAs. You can find damn near 500 worst contracts. Like, what? Any team in the league would sign this guy to this contract.
So I guess he's predicting. So the headline is predicting the worst value NBA contracts in 2 years.
Yeah.
So I think he hates.
What are you predicting for 2 years from now?
He predicting. He does not.
Is he going to get?
He does not like Jason Tatum.
Tragic car accident. Is he going to get like his leg amputated? Like what is going to happen over the next 2 years where that is going to be the worst contract in the league? If anything remotely normal happens over the next 2 years, that is going to be far from one of the worst contracts in the league.
If he tore his ACL next year, it still wouldn't be on this list.
I mean, just a stunner.
He could miss the season
at 28.
The season.
At 28, a dude who lives on first team All NBA is going to be the worst contract in the fucking league. Oh man.
We'll spend another hour in this tomorrow. We're gonna have to let this settle for. I'm gonna go through. I'm gonna come back with some contracts for you, Jay. And we're gonna go contract through contract to see where Tatum falls out of 500 players in the NBA. I'm guessing.
Just baffling. Anyway, we'll be back. We'll be back after the Celtics and Pistons clash. Only one winning streak can survive. This podcast can survive anything. We love you guys. We'll talk to you soon.
Still bottle, still bottle. The Boston Celtics still bottle, still bottle. Oh yeah.
Slow down from eating and drinking and all that wild stuff.